Might get started so we're not sort of too late before we get going. Thank you everyone for coming in and to those live streaming. Just checked, we've got about 200 people tuning in for the morning session, which is good. So welcome to people online and to the recorded sessions afterwards. For those that I haven't met, my name's Ben Williamson. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Fresh Equities. We work in the listed market to help listed companies and their shareholders communicate and work together when they go to raise capital. A few little housekeeping things. If there is an emergency, please just follow the instructions of staff of the hotel. And if we could all just make sure that our phones are on silent or turned off, that'd be great. I like to keep things pretty casual and would love questions as they come up or kept to the end of presentations. And if we've got time to go through them, it's a good chance to ask those, or if you don't feel comfortable, I think most presenters have booths here as well, or will be around to answer questions after their events. We've got 7 companies in the morning session. And first up, we've got Wayne Rossiter from Eastern Metals. Eastern Metals advanced assets are the high-grade Homer Bullion copper mine and Browns Reef polymetallic deposit previously held by Magmatic Resources. Exploration potential also exists for lithium, which is super hot right now, and rare earth elements along with base and precious metals. Managing Director Wayne Rossiter is here to discuss first drilling results at Browns Reef, which may have identified a new discovery in the Cobar Basin. Welcome.
Thank you, Ben, and thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for coming to listen to me. Eastern Metals, it's a new company. We listed late last year. We've been around for 6 months now. And as Ben said, our principal assets were ex-Kidman resource assets that we acquired after very long negotiations. But the hallmark of those assets is they've had $9 million of expenditure on them historically. So we've bought those with a great data set. Let's get past the usual disclaimer. Okay, so here we are. We have 3 project areas. We call them the Arunta project, the Cobar project, and the Tungsten project. I'm going to focus on the Cobar project today, but I'll certainly run you through our other project areas. The ex-Kidman assets is the Arunta project, specifically the Home of Bullion mine, where there's an existing JORC 2012 resource estimate of 2.5 million tonnes at 2.8% copper equivalent. It's interpreted as a VMS system, but it's open, and there's great potential to add additional lenses from that resource. I'd also say that we've recently completed an acquisition of neighbouring tenure, which gives us copper trends running to the west and to the northwest from the Home of Bullion mine. So we've got a lot of exploration potential around there to add to that resource base at Home of Bullion. And it all sits within the Arunta pegmatite province, and the Barrow Creek pegmatite field is specifically in that area. We haven't done any exploration for pegmatites up there yet, but it's certainly mapped as an area. We're across the road from where Australasian Gold are, AHG, and Core Lithium also have tenure in the area. Moving to New South Wales, the Cobar project, it's dominated by a thing we call Browns Reef. That was drilled about 8 years ago by Kidman. They identified a very large mineralised system. It's about 8 kilometres of strike. I'd describe it as like the hull of a ship in the ground. A lot of the work was done on one flank, the eastern flank of that system, and a large but low-grade mineralised area was identified. What we're chasing there is plums in the pudding, where there may be high-grade zones, and we've just completed our initial 4-hole drilling program there, following up on a historical high-grade hit, and we've had 4 fabulous intercepts to expand that load. Lastly, the Tungsten project, high-risk, high-reward project, looking for CSA Allura style mine copycats, magnetic targets that look just the same. This area, it's covered in sediments, has been lightly explored historically, However, the basement rocks have all been interpreted to be Cobar Basin, so we think there's excellent potential for a major discovery there. We haven't funded it in the IPO, and we're looking for funding partners. And I should, just with our final comment down there, or penultimate comment, the new evergreen discovery, that's what we're calling our discovery at Browns Reef. We listed at 20 cents. We're 19.5 cents, or yesterday, I believe. Our enterprise value is very low, as you can see, and accordingly, we're well funded and our EV is very low. So we're pretty much the same proposition we floated on. We're extremely cheap. If you look at anyone who's got the quality of assets that we have, you could easily expect a much higher valuation. So this was the deal we put to investors on the IPO. We have traded up to 28 cents on very thin volumes. And I feel like we're poised for a serious re-rate on what's happened down at Browns. And to be frank, even just the quality of the assets as they stand today, we should be trading much higher. So, you know, you've heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. I'll just quickly run over management. We've got a very credentialed board dominated by geologists. I'm about the only non-geologist. I'm a mine engineer and for my sins an accountant as well. Kathy Moises, one of our NEDs, very well-known geologist and research analyst and now company director. Jason Byrne, structural geologist. Bob Duffin, our chairman, who is our principal shareholder, is in this room, is a geophysicist. And then we have a number of consultants, a very lean team. Everything's outsourced other than myself and our geologist. But we have two consulting geologists. Gary Jones, he discovered North Parks. He also did all the early work to discover Lake Cow. If you speak to the exploration geologists down there, they still reference and research his seminal works down there, if you like. Bob Richardson is the son of the doyen of geophysics in Australia and is our principal geophysicist and is very intimately involved with the Tungsten projects. So I'll just focus on our Cobar project. Browns Reef is a small tenement, only 10 units, but we have tenure to the north and south of it, following a controlling structure, or what's believed to be a controlling structure called the Warara Fault. We're in the vicinity of Peel Mining, and if any of you follow Peel Mining, market cap of around 140, 150 million, they have a number of deposits up there, copper and zinc dominant projects. And we're looking to identify at Browns Reef one or more lodes within that mineralised system that could be of that sort of size. So this is Browns Reef. It's about 8 kilometres in strike. Like I said, like the hull of a ship in the ground. There's been a lot of drilling done on the western flank, over about 2.7 kilometres of it by Kidman, and that's where the 27 to 35 million tonne exploration target came from. But within that drilling, there were some high-grade hits that hadn't been followed up on, and that's what we were acquiring the project for and to chase. The western flank has had very little work done. There was some air core drilling done by Electrolytic Zinc Company back in the 70s, which came up with some interesting anomalous results. There's some thin basalt cover there. It hasn't really had much work on it. And indeed, there's some anomalous results between these limbs. So there could be some folding within. What we're focused on initially, if I get this pointer working, is this hole here, BRD 13, drilled by Magmatic Resources. So we plugged 4 holes around that, and I'll just jump in here. This is a long section of that 2.7 kilometres. Here's BRD 13 with our 4 holes around it. But that's that sort of circle there. That's all you need to find a ore body that's potentially mineable. You know, 200-300 metres of strike. These things, Cobar Basin, generally run pretty deep. So within this 8 kilometres, that's 2.7 kilometres, you've got 8 kilometres of potentially mineralised structures. There's potential to host one or more ore bodies within there. So this is us on a beautiful sunset after the flooding and rains and all the other dramas we've had out at Browns Reef. Out there with DDH1, who did a wonderful job drilling for us. And these were the results. This was the discovery. We call it the Evergreen Zone. What we essentially did is we plugged 4 holes around that BRD 13. One to the north at the same depth, one to the south at the same depth, about 50 metres away, one 50 metres up dip and one 50 metres down dip. and we had fabulous results. And I won't run through them all here, but highlights up to 14% zinc. We saw quite a lot of copper in the southern hole, which was very interesting. It was quite high up. There had been copper seen by Kidman back in the day, but very deep. In fact, our highest assay of copper was 5.1%. But all of these are wide, they're ore grade, and we believe it's the start of a new discovery at Browns Reef. The next drilling program is marked up on this schematic here, and what we're doing is we're stepping out 100 metres to the north and 100 metres to the south, and we'll see if we can continue to hit high grade and wide intercepts. If we do that, then we've got to decide whether we start infilling or keep stepping out or chasing deeper. So we'll see what the next program comes up with, but without a doubt, we're onto something here in our view. Just this little highlight here, I think, is probably, besides the grades, the most important thing. Okay, so that we've got this vertical depth of 300 metres right now, and it's open in all directions. So huge potential here. Now, because we don't have much time to talk, I'm just going to race ahead. And I certainly invite people to come to the booth if you want to discuss this in a little bit more detail. Our Arunta project, this is driven by the Homer Bullion mine. These dark pink areas was our initial tenure, and we've picked up this new tenure here and some other tenure to the south here. This was our real focus here because what this gives us, here's the Homer Bullion mine. There's a thing here called the Malbungus copper gossan, and we know this area from work done back by Aberfoyle in the day is anomalous for copper. There's also a trend that runs this way to the northwest from the Homer Bullion mine, which is also anomalous for copper. So we're looking for extensions to add to the resource there. Homer Bullion, 2.5 million tonnes, a bit small. We want to get it to 5 million tonnes in our initial drilling program. So what we've designed at Homer Bullion, it's a 10-hole program. We've done over 2 stages, and it's a resource extension program for where the existing lodes remain open, and we'll attempt to double the tonnage there, and then we'll do exploration work looking for other lenses to continue to build the tonnage. This circle here is more or less what's described as the Barrow Creek pegmatite province. There's known pegmatites with lithium in the area, and our intent is to do a reconnaissance program over this tenure here for both copper and for lithium. We haven't got up there yet. We have to get clearances redone for the Central Land Council up there. They were out in the field last month, so we expect to have them imminently. So we're hoping to be on the ground in the next 3 to 4 weeks up there doing that work and getting ready for drilling as soon as we get a rig available. This southern area here, prospective for copper, gold, and rare earths principally. It's all pretty early stage exploration there, but we'll get down there in due course. So just zooming in on Homer Bullion. Here's the Homer Bullion mine, and within our existing tenure, there's quite a number of known copper anomalies. They've had some work done on them, but they need more work, so this will be our focus and going on this trend out here. We've also got to the north a thing called Prospect D. There was a little bit of drilling done up there. It's got copper and nickel up there, very high grades. We don't really know what we've got up there. That's something we've got to do a little bit of work on probably later this year. This is just a little bit of a zoom in on Homer Bullion, showing those named prospects. Here up at Prospect D, you can see, we've got these quite high grade copper and nickel hits over a significant interval. There's a high grade area of about 250 metres. So it's an area of interest, but not our immediate priority. I've already mentioned the pegmatites. Our third project is the Thomson project. It's a pretty interesting thing. Back to New South Wales. It's up in the White Cliffs area. There's been work done there historically by Minotaur and Plat Search. But what it is there's these magnetic bullseye anomalies like this. If you have a look at the magnetic anomaly that led to the discovery of the CSA Endeavour mine, it's almost a copycat, and we've got about 13 of them on our tenure. There's been some drilling done historically. Some of it's been co-funded by the government, and what they've identified is not an ore body yet, but what they think they've identified is the halo around a possible ore body. This area is covered in sediments, so it hasn't had much work done on it historically. It's been a difficult drilling to get to it. Our geophysical modelling on this has been done. Our drill targets are defined, and we just need to find a funding partner to get out there. But the drilling that's been done to date, what's been identified is what you would expect around the halo of a magnetic anomalous ore body, and the basement rocks have been identified to be Cobar Basin. So we believe the Cobar Basin stretches around to the west over or under our area of tenure. So it's a high risk, high reward area. And as I said, we're seeking funding partners. Okay, so we've got 1 minute to go. You can all independently go through our exploration program in your own time, but it's a busy news flow. It's going to be dominated by drilling initially at Browns Reef, where we're onto something. And as soon as we get a rig available up at Northern Territory, we'll be looking to do that resource expansion drilling at home of Byrne. So the highlights, a new discovery. There's mines and mines in a week or so out at Orange. I think we'll be the talk of that with our new discovery. We've got the potential to put together one or more potentially economic ore bodies in a very short period of time. Our market cap is rock bottom. It's at IPO level, and we could easily get to a 50 to 100 million market cap on the back of some news flow in our tight registry. So it's a pretty interesting proposition. I think I'm out of time, and whether there's time for questions or not, I'm not sure. Yes, I do have a booth. We're the very first booth when you walk into the morning tea area on the right. So we're pretty easy to spot. Thank you very much.
So for those looking up on their phones or the like, the code is EMS. Yeah, definitely have a look. Looks like a very tight register and a lot going on in the next 12 months. Next up, we've got Legacy Minerals. So we've got Chris Byrne, who's going to talk about Legacy Minerals being fresh from recent high-grade gold, silver, and base metals drill results. It's two of its projects in the world-class Lachlan Fold Belt here again in New South Wales. Managing Director Chris will provide insight on what has been achieved at these gold, copper and base metal projects since listing on the ASX last year, as well as the exploration program ahead. More news flow, I like it.
All right, well, thank you all for being here today and coming to this auditorium. We certainly feel that the companies on offer in here, and Legacy Minerals in particular, have a real opportunity for shareholders. Like Eastern Metals, we've got a market cap around 10 million. We've got a significant portfolio of fantastic gold, copper, battery metals projects in the Lachlan Fold Belt. So some very exciting times for us. And for those that are watching on the ASX as well, we've just inked a $4.5 million exploration artificial intelligence alliance with Earth AI to spend money on our ground, which will deliver value for our shareholders. So I'll look forward to run through that. The disclaimer is up there to read. Otherwise, this presentation is being made available on the ASX. So why invest in Legacy Minerals? I talked about just briefly that artificial intelligence exploration alliance. So what Legacy have done is ink an agreement with Earth AI to spend $4.5 million across our Mulholland and Fontenoy tenements. So there are battery minerals focused tenements. Some very exciting prospects there. Earth AI, artificial intelligence, is at the real cutting edge of exploration in the space. They're Silicon Valley funded. So there's some big money that is coming in from Australia and overseas to really see these green projects, these critical battery metal projects succeed. We've got some game-changing discovery opportunities across the portfolio. I'll talk about Bullura. It's one of New South Wales' largest epithermal systems, so it's a significant project from a scale perspective, and fantastic that we've got it in a company that we've got control of it. Harden, we've been drilling that project since we listed it at our IPO. We've got some fantastic high-grade hits from that, and we're expecting assays to come back from both those projects imminently. Rockley, I'll talk about as well, our porphyry target. So again, what a lot of explorers are chasing in the Lachlan Fold Belt, these, Boda type, Cadia Ridgeway porphyry type discovery targets. We're very much value leveraged to our exploration success. We've got 100% ownership of those 6 projects. We've got strong news flow expected over the coming months, and a real competitive market, cap that provides platform for our IPO investors and any future investors that jump on the registry. So room for growth there. We've got a fantastic position in the Lachlan Fold Belt. A lot of our targets are high grade, shallow, they present at surface, and you'll start to see some of the intersections and the grades that we're talking about, fall within, the first 150 meters of depth. So we're talking very shallow, and that lends itself to long-term development opportunities for some of these prospects. Corporate snapshot, I won't linger on this. We listed in September, so we've got, we're well funded for the exploration that we've done. We've done about 5,000 meters of drilling to date across Ballura and Harden. The top 20 own 60% of the company, so very tightly held there. And we've got a real breadth of, management and board experience. David Carlin, Douglas Menzies, Matt Wall, myself and Tom Wall. So a mix of you sort of older grey hairs and some, fresh young faces, keen to make a success of this company. So this $4.5 million alliance that we've signed, people might ask, what's artificial intelligence and machine learning got to do with exploration? And it really comes down to a demand and supply issue. The big funds overseas, the venture capitalists here, you would have seen just the interest in battery metals to sustain your Tesla, your decarbonisation. They see the falling, the traditional exploration models that have failed. They've failed to meet the market demand. Discovery rates haven't met up with supply. Hence why we're seeing these skyrocketing prices of these critical and battery metals. So they're trying to disrupt, and we're on board with 2 of our projects to really test out their theory. We're focused up at Fontenoy, Mulholland, across the copper, nickel, tin, testing the PGE potential of those tenements as well. It's unlike a classic JV, so it's quite different. This is, really at the tip of the spear, very much leading edge here, that the $4.5 million that Earth AI can spend on our tenements, they only earn a royalty upon a successful drill intersection. So it's very much success driven. Legacy retain 100% ownership, and there's some good buyback options for Legacy as well if we choose not to develop those projects. So if we don't want to take one of the projects forward, Earth AI have the option to purchase it off us for $1 million US and a 2% royalty that comes back to the company. Just briefly, who are they? They're using those machine learnings to target, test, and define, discoveries. They've got their own drill rigs. They're based out in central New South Wales. And they get a lot of their Silicon Valley funding. So they're San Francisco based now after starting up in Australia. And they're backed by some of Australia's biggest venture capital funds, as well as some of the big Silicon Valley funds as well. So it's going to be a very exciting partnership over the next 2 years to see where they take us on those 2 projects. These are the projects here, Fontenoy, Mulholland. So Fontenoy is based down near Young. So it's about 15 kilometres away from Earth AI's drilling facilities, where they've reverse engineers a drilling configuration, new drill rigs down there. It's a large system, 8 kilometres of strike, heavily mineralised, and it's got some great historical drill intercepts as well. So a really good area to really test out that theory. We know there's PGs down there that haven't been tested. There's some historic chromite mines. There's nickel potential, so it really fits great within that mandate for those battery critical metals. Mulholland, we're up there with Sky Metals at Dorradilla. Dorradilla is a fantastic, deposit that they're working on up there, and it's really an emerging district. So we see lots of repetitions in the structures. There's been good historic nickel and tin intercepts up there. So again, a fantastic opportunity for an artificial intelligence company to crunch big data and generate some high conviction drill targets to test. Cobar, I'll introduce Cobar as a first project. And the reason why I'll introduce it is because it really underpins the value, that we see in the company. You look at the prime position that we've got in the Cobar Basin, and you look at the market cap of Legacy Minerals at, circa 13 mil, and you look at the market cap of some of our peers. When we talk about, untested targets out there, a Cobar type discovery for a company of our size, is a significant game changer. So we're doing ground geochem work out there, and we've got some ground magnetics as well. So we're looking forward to release some of those results, but we've already defined up, numerous targets through the geophysical co-funded work with the government as well. So it's a very exciting package. You can see just the magnetics and the structural complexity. Fantastic district, lots of interest, and there's a lot of mines that are found here as well. I'll go through Ballura in some length. Very exciting projects. One of New South Wales' largest epithermal systems. So it certainly is a key asset in our portfolio. Sorry. Here we go. So why epithermals? It's essentially world-class potential. There's a few key big epithermals in New South Wales that they'll briefly mention. There's Cow, owned by Evolution Mining, 15 million ounce. You got Bowden Silver, one of the world's largest undeveloped silver deposits, 275 million ounces. Mineral Hill, recently purchased by Kingston Resources, and Ballura. So we're up there in terms of the size of the district, the mineralization that we're seeing here. It's important to note that Cow gold zone, defined by a 7.5 by 2 kilometre area of gold anomalism in greater than 0.1 grams per tonne gold. Why is that important for what we're looking down at Ballura? Is that we're shoring up this system 4 Ks by 2 kilometres, greater than 0.5 grams per tonne gold in rock chips. There's bonanza historical grades. We've got a significant zone of alteration there. So there's a very large, boiling. There's a lot of activity that's driving this widespread mineralization. So it's very target rich, significant vein systems, and a lot of it's untested. So that's where the opportunity lies for Legacy and our shareholders. When you talk about a project that's only had 37 drill holes across 27 square kilometres, you're talking 1 drill hole every 72 hectares. So completely untested and wide open. Where we've been drilling down at Mount Felsted, it just is one small part of that quite enormous system. And the results that we're getting are giving us extreme encouragement to the potential of this project. When you're talking 9 meters at 9%, lead plus zinc, 2 grams gold and 28 grams per tonne silver from 140 meters, including a high grade zone, 2 meters at 29%, lead plus zinc, 5.4 grams gold and 94 grams silver. You're talking, economic grades here, particularly given, from 140 meters. So this shallow ore body, it presents itself at surface, mineralized from surface. It's open to the north and south. The important takeaway though is that this is the tip of the iceberg that we see here. When you talk about the footprint that this system has, this is only 600 meter strike in an 8 square kilometer mineralized zone. So very, very exciting. Keep an eye out for the drill assays that are coming out for this shortly as well. Onto Harden. So Harden is a high-grade gold mine, in one of New South Wales' least explored gold districts. New South Wales, it's been chased by, a lot of people looking for porphyries, predominantly. And sort of these high-grade, systems haven't been well explored or even well understood in the New South Wales context. And we saw a great opportunity to drill out this old gold mine that produced, some significant historical grades. So we're the first company that's ever drilled it. And you can start to see the high-grade drill intercepts that we're starting to add to this, emerging gold story. 5 meters at 7 grams gold from 110 meters. We've got 3.6 at 21 from 116, 3 at 10, 6 at 3, all shallow. And again, we're seeing widths there. We're seeing grades that give us a lot of confidence, for potential resource definition and a lot of confidence for, future development of those projects. When we talk about the significance of this district, 460,000 ounces of gold from alluvial and hard rock production, of which the 2 biggest mines that fall under Legacy's control produce 75,000 ounces at 28 grams. So the old timers mining this pre-World War I, without electricity, they left significant grade behind. So they mined it at a cutoff grade at 15 grams per tonne. Some of the intersections you can see from that long section there, are through stope ground. So that's grade that's been left behind in the wall rock, the hanging rock, as they took out the high grade zone. So we know that there's zones there near surface, the grade, economic grades at current, gold prices. And then as we get into the unmined sections as well, that's where this really has the potential to blow out. So again, we've got assays coming back for this shortly. We've been diamond drilling down there to help us understand the geology. But, when you talk 1.4 kilometers, it's a big orogenic shear hosted system. So a very exciting prospect. Rockley, I'll run through. So Rockley is our porphyry project, and it's in a prime position in what has been a relatively underlooked area of the of the Lachlan Fold Belt, which is the Rockley Gulgong volcanics. It's an emerging porphyry district, being made, famous by bushrangers, Success Extract Resources. So they're drilling out a 71 million tonne at 0.44% copper porphyry. And Extract are expecting that to, has good potential to reach 1 billion tonnes. So you're talking world-class porphyry. It's high grade. There's a high grade mineralized cap there. It's preserved close to surface, which is fantastic. When you talk about, porphyry's close to surface for a junior like us means that it's relatively shallow drilling. So they're intersecting their porphyry from 11 meters. And that 920 meters at 0.3% intercept that they've got, that's from 110 meters. So it's unheard of to be sort of seeing, that type of, porphyry drilling so close to surface. Why are we here as well is we recognize, the porphyry potential. But again, it's another artificial intelligence company and the New South Wales government that assessed that area to be the most prospective for porphyry copper mineralization in the entire Rockley Gulgong volcanics. And certainly what we're seeing there is all the right ingredients for that porphyry mineralization. Overlooked, untested again, it just hasn't been drilled. Not a single drill hole there. Historically, 22 RAB holes were done, not one tested below 15 meters. So if there's a shallow porphyry to be there, it's ours to be found. And the mineralization we're seeing there, 4 kilometers by 2 kilometers of 0.5% copper, grading up to 5%, in some of the rock chips we've got, is a significant copper mineralization. The planned exploration program, we've been pretty busy since the IPO. As I said, we've drilled 5,000 meters across Hardin and Ballura, and we've got another 10,000 meters of drilling with our planned use of our IPO funds. So we've certainly got plenty of opportunities to add value there. We're very keen to see where the relationship with Earth AI takes us across Fontenoy and Mulholland. So that'll, they've got the drill rigs, they're keen to drill. They'll work through the data sets, that we've got. They'll do the groundwork and then they'll define the drill targets and go out and test them with their rigs that they've got. So very excited to see where that partnership takes us. We're planning follow-up drill campaigns at Ballura. Ballura, we're looking at some of the other, classic low sulfidation areas outside the Mount Felsted mine, which is more of an intermediate sulfidation with some of the base metals that we're seeing there. So we're going to be testing, the Mi'mar veins and those type of areas where we're getting rock chips up to 39 grams gold, 260 grams silver. Very excited with that. And Cobar, we've got that in the pipeline with the work that we're doing out there and some of the targets we're going to generate. I'll just sort of wrap up why I think Legacy Minerals is a fantastic investment opportunity. We're competitively priced compared to our IPO. $4.5 million, AI alliance, possibly the first of its type in New South Wales for one of these artificial intelligence companies to earn in on a project by success. We've got game-changing discovery opportunities, particularly, keep an eye out for Ballura, one of New South Wales' largest epithermal systems there. We're focused on delivering shareholder values. It's a tight exploration team, a tight management structure. We've got a significant depth, 600% owned projects in New South Wales, and we've got the right metals exposure, gold, copper, the lead, zinc, base metals, critical in the battery metals. So we're in booth 100, pretty much right next door to Wayne and Eastern Metals. So feel free to come see some of the rocks and chat with the team.
Thanks very much. And the code there is LGM, right? For people to look up. Fantastic. Just got told that we've got about 300 people tuning in online as well at the moment. So the word must be getting out that these presentations are going very well. Next up, we've got Keith McKnight from Group 6 Metals. Group 6 is steadily moving on the road to recommencing production at the Dolphin Tungsten mine, a historic site on King Island, Tasmania, that closed in 1992. With construction underway, Keith will outline the company's pathway towards starting production in the first quarter of 2023. I think we're all about to learn a bit here. So, all right, thank you.
Good morning. I'm here to tell you about Group 6 Metals and our Dolphin Tungsten project, which is located on the southeastern coast of King Island in the Bass Strait. It's a very exciting time for the company. We've commenced construction and we're targeting production of first concentrate in early 2023. Group 6 Metals for a long time was known as King Island Scheelite, has recently undergone a name change, and this is primarily to reflect the ambition of the company beyond the Dolphin project, and also to pay tribute to tungsten as one of the group 6 elements on the periodic table. Tungsten's unique mineral due to its hardness and its wear resistivity. It's got many important industrial applications that are critical to economic development, such as in automotive manufacture, defense, mining, construction. And also it has got many new uses coming online now. One interesting one is use in semiconductors, which is used in the form of tungsten hexafluoride gas, which is used to deposit a thin film of tungsten on the microchips. So that's pretty exciting for tungsten. The Dolphin project is the highest grade project in the Western world, and it has the potential to supply 12% of the tungsten demand going forward outside of China. So the company has got a strong board and executive management team with a proven track record of delivering resource projects of this nature and even bigger. So just quickly, a brief history on the Dolphin project. It was first discovered in 1911 by a prospector named Tom Farrell, who was searching for tin. And Tom stumbled across a mineralization, which he later found out was actually tungsten. And this led to the discovery of the tungsten deposit, which was a significant shallow depth deposit undercover. The mine commenced operations in 1917 and had a bit of a checkered history up until its closure in 1990. The mine closed in 1990 due to prolonged depressed tungsten prices. To put that in context, the price of tungsten in 1990 was 1/7 of what it is today. So unfortunately, those prices couldn't sustain the operation. So just draw your attention to the cover slide here. I think this aptly covers our development plan for the Dolphin Tungsten project. So we've got the open cut pit, and we've got an initial 8 years of mining to the east, open cut, and it'll produce about 400,000 tons of ore per annum. Our process plant will be located on the southern side over here, and that will process the ore and produce about 3,500 tons of tungsten concentrate. And the ore will be packed in containers and sent to Grassy Port, where it will be shipped via Melbourne to the export market. So I think this picture pretty aptly covers our pathway to market. So why invest in Group 6? As I mentioned, the project's under construction, so we expect to have revenue in early 2023. It's one of the highest grade deposits in the Western world. It's got a 14-year mine life with significant exploration upside. We've got a proven process flow sheet producing high quality concentrate with high recoveries. Tungsten is ranked internationally as a critical mineral due to its economic importance. And we've got a secure pathway to market through the execution of offtake agreements and private infrastructure to the port. So the company continues to meet its key milestones, having successfully raised 84 million in funding last year, 10 million of that contributed by the Tasmanian government. We commenced construction in January of this year, and we had our official commencement ceremony in February, which was well attended by federal and state government and all the local people. We're getting incredible support for this project on the island. Our process plant construction is due to start in May 2022, with commencement of mining in November. So we're currently on track for first concentrate shipping in March 2023. So I'll briefly touch on this. This is just some photographs to show our progress. So we've completed the earthworks at the process plant, and we're currently mobilizing to commence civil works. Our EPC contractor, Kitto, will mobilize the site in late May to commence the process plant construction. So here's some more photographs here. We're realigning the ROM pad haul road and also receiving our concrete batch plant for the civil works. So this is a pretty important slide. This slide ranks us to our peers. So on the x-axis, on the y-axis, sorry, on the y-axis, we've got, on the y-axis, we've got the grade. And as you can see, the Dolphin Tungsten project ranks well ahead of its peers in grade. The size of the bubble denotes the size of the reserve. But I think it's important to note that while we're not the biggest reserve, due to the high grade, we've got the most contained WO3. So as everyone knows, grade matters. This allows us to fall within the lowest cost quartile and also allows us to minimize our environmental impact when developing the mine because we have to recover less ore. So it's a low risk mining start. As you saw in the opening photograph, the pit is already developed. We've got an owner operator mining fleet currently been mobilized to the site. It's high grade, recovering 400,000 tons per annum for the first 8 years, and then a further 6 years at 300,000 tons underground. One of the important things here regarding the environmental impact of this project is that the overburden rock is non-acid forming, which allows us to reuse the rock to develop our tailing storage facility. So we've got sufficient reserves to underwrite the first 14 years of mining, and we've got extensive exploration potential around the mining lease. At Bold Head, sorry guys. At Bold Head, which is located up here, we've got a resource of 1.6 million tons at 0.91%, and we also have some scout drilling that we've completed at Investigator that we aim to go back and drill again in October of this year. So we're confident we could be mining in this area for in excess of 20 years. It's a proven and optimized process flow sheet. We're pretty much using simple gravity and magnetic separation for the coarse fine concentrate. Group 6 has spent a lot of money and time and effort developing and optimizing the fine ore concentrate circuit, and that has led to the introduction of our multi-gravity separators. What these do is these improve the performance of the flotation circuit, reducing cost and increasing recovery. The company is committed to ESG, particularly on a sensitive and ecologically sensitive environment like King Island. We've got strict adherence to our project environmental management plans. Along with that, we've also committed 33.7 hectares for land conservation to protect local habitat. And we also have a commitment to prioritize local residential employment where practical. Historically, the Dolphin mine, contributed significantly to the King Island economy, and we're committed to ensure that it can play a significant role again. So as I said previously, tungsten has been identified by many government and agencies as a critical industrial metal. Critical metals are identified due to their their economic importance and their potential supply risk. So as you can see, tungsten is ranked most important for economic importance. This assessment was carried out by the European Commission in 2020. They revise this assessment every 3 years, and we suspect, given the circumstances around COVID and the conflict in Ukraine, that we can see supply risk moving significantly higher once the next revision comes out. So the demand for tungsten, traditionally, it's used as cement carbides used in drilling, mainly for cutting tools and high wear resisting parts. We're seeing some new uses for tungsten now in the semiconductor industry, in battery industry, and also for nickel tungsten alloys. So we think this will underpin the growth for demand in tungsten long into the future. So price, tungsten concentrate is referenced off the APT price. So APT is ammonia paratungstate. So the price has kind of experienced some volatile periods between 2019 and 2020. These can be explained by there was a glut in supply due to the Fania Metals Exchange auction. So they put 28,000 tons of APT into the market, which caused the the price to go down. And then the second dip there is as a result of the economic slowdown as a result of COVID. So the prices at the moment are at 8-year highs. We suspect that the fundamentals are in place to support these prices for the rest of the year. But potentially longer term, we can see the price settling down at about $280 per MTU. So as I said, the project is located in King Island, which we think is a strategic location. It's got access to export markets in Europe and America via Melbourne. The company has secured infrastructure between the mine and the port, which gives us private access to the port area for export. And finally, we also purchased the Claridon College campus. And the intention of purchasing this was that we could provide residential housing for our permanent staff on site. Offtake agreements. So we've executed 2 offtake agreements for approximately 65 to 70% of our forecast production. And the offtake agreements have been executed with MBH or WBH and Traxys for an initial term of 4 years. So this will underwrite the first, at today's prices, this will underwrite the first 162 million tons of revenue over that 4 years. So corporate overview. So the company share price is trading at 20 cents or 20.5 cents when I checked there just recently, or just there this morning. We've got 638.8 million pieces of paper on issue, got 20.8 million in cash, and we've got 32.5 million in undrawn debt facilities. Market cap of 126 million. So as you can see, we've got a very supportive shareholder register, and the top 10 consists of just over 55% of the total shareholding. The first 4 shareholders there have contributed significantly to the project financing package, which I think validates the project and validates their commitment to redeveloping the Dolphin Tungsten project. We've got a very experienced board and executive management team. We've got Johan Jacobs and Chris Ellis, who've been on the board of KIS now, Group 6 Metals, for the last 10 years and have been instrumental in developing and progressing the project to where it is today. Johan is a finance executive with over 40 years experience in the listed and non-listed environments. Chris's core skills are in geology, mining and mineral processing. Chris was one of the founding members of Excel Coal, which was one of the largest independent Australian coal companies up to when it was acquired by Peabody Energy. Greg Hancock runs his own specialist corporate advisory company and has access to the capital markets in Australia and in the UK. And my name is, I'm Keith McKnight. I'm a mechanical engineer with 22 years experience in developing construction and mining projects. So that's it. Thank you for your time. And if you'd like to come and see us and talk more things tungsten, we've got a booth outside. Thank you.
And obviously with the 6 in there now, it's G6M for those looking it up. Coming up next, we've got Pacgold. So we've got Tony Schreck, who's here to tell us about the journey that the company's been on and about to go on. So with a high-grade discovery under its belt, Pacgold is planning to unlock an entire gold corridor in the Alice River Gold Project in North Queensland. After being the best performing IPO on the ASX in 2021, Tony will discuss the enormous opportunity that this discovery represents in 2022 and beyond. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. It's your clicker forward, back.
Thank you very much for your attention this morning. I'll run you through the Pacgold story. So we're a gold exploration company. We're located in far north Queensland. It's a very healthy part of Queensland for large profitable gold mines. Approximately 40 million ounces of gold has come out of that part of the world. So for us, Alice River Gold Project we've achieved some outstanding success in the past 6 to 8 months, and that's been on the back of a high-grade gold discovery. And how we've achieved that is by applying modern exploration to an overlooked historical gold field, and that's how we've created. So the high-grade discovery, some of the numbers that we've released to the market as part of that discovery: 17 metres at 9.3, including 3 at 25. And 43 at 3, including 6 at 17 grams gold. Now, these are all brand new numbers and underpin the sort of success for us to move forward as we move towards resource development on this project. So we're well funded, and we're going to be commencing an aggressive drill program in the next week, in fact, and that program will extend over 18 months, and that work will focus on the new F1A high-grade zone that we've identified. Just a snapshot on the company. You'll see the share graph in the centre of the slide there. Now, we IPO'd in July last year at 25 cents, and on the back of high-grade gold discoveries, we've achieved some substantial discovery-driven growth in the company, and that's what's underpinned us being the best performing gold IPO on the ASX for 2021. As I mentioned, we're well funded. We've currently got $9.3 million in cash, and we're midway through a rights issue, which is fully underwritten, and that'll be for an additional $3.2 million. So at the end of that process, in a few weeks' time, we'll be well funded with approximately $12 million in cash, and that's what's going to fund the drilling for the next 18 months. And as part of those capital raises, including the IPO, we've had substantial, strong institutional investment support in the company, and the likes of Resource Capital Funds, Acorn Fund, and its institutional investors. They make up just over 20% of the register. So that's a fantastic endorsement for the company. We've got a very tight capital structure with only 61 million shares on issue. So that's going to help sort of drive growth with such a tight capital structure. And with the current share price of about 70 cents, where our current market cap is just over $40 million. So that leaves, on the back of more successful discovery sort of driven growth through additional drilling, we see that we'd like to think that gives us plenty of upside to grow the company. So just an overview on the project. The project has been overlooked for about 20 years, and that's because it was held inside a private company. And we acquired the project in December 2020. We acquired it 100%, and that project came with 8 granted mining leases and a number of granted exploration permits. The photo on the top left there, in about the centre of the photo, you'll see the open pit mine that produced about 30,000 ounces at 5.5 grams back in the 80s and 90s. It's because there's some excellent infrastructure on site. We've got an operating airstrip, existing camp, large freshwater dam, and there's an old mill there as well. It's an old CIP plant, and it's a good example on how they used to treat the ores on the project. So the figure on the left there, we've got about 30 kilometres of gold corridor locked up in granted exploration permits, but our focus really is on a 7 kilometre long belt in the centre of that area. And the figure on the right there, that shows the 7 kilometre long zone. The central target in the centre of that figure, that's really where our exploration's focused to date. And that's where we've achieved the discovery success of what we call the F1A zone. So I'll be running you through the central target, the southern target, and then the northern target. So this figure on the right here is that 7 kilometre long zone. That's all the IP resistivity geophysics that we've collected since we completed the IPO. They're all the IP sections lined up over 7 kilometres, and then it's just rolled obliquely over in 3D. If I draw your attention to the blue and the purple on that section, you can see it extending over 7 kilometres, the whole length of the survey. And what that represents is a resistivity low, and that resistivity low is what's mapping out the gold mineralisation on the project. The reason it shows up as such a strong contrast and maps out so well is we've got a granitic host rock, and where that granite's unaltered, it's quite strongly resistive. But as soon as you shear it and put the gold fluid through it, it creates a strong contrast, creating a resistivity low. We're the first company to have ever applied this geophysical survey to the project, and we've had enormous success. This is probably the biggest step forward for achieving the discovery success we've made, this geophysical data. And the figure on the left there, that's a drill section, and you can see how well the gold mineralisation matches up with the resistivity low. So this figure on the left here, this is a long section through the central target. And you can see the scale bar down the bottom there of 200 metres. There's the open pit in the top centre of the figure. The small dots on here are the historical drill holes, and the large dots are the drill holes that we've completed as part of our initial drill program since the IPO. The colour coding on there, the yellow represents what we call the upper low-grade gold zone, and the red equates to what we define as the high-grade target zone. And you can see that from top to bottom on that figure is about just over 300 metres. If we look at the top right photograph, that piece of drill core, you'll see there's two different colours of silica in that. The grey silica is the low-grade gold, and that's what equates to the yellow in that long section, and the white is where we see the high-grade gold, and that's what equates to the red in that figure. So a big part of our discovery success has been the application of a brand new model for this project, and part of that model is you transition from the shallow low-grade gold zone. As you go deeper into the system, you transition into the white silica, which contains the high-grade gold. And that's exactly what we've done here, and we've achieved some amazing success. You can see the section there, 17 metres at 9.3 and 43 at 3. And even further to the north there along strike, we're looking at about 1 kilometre of strike along that long section. But even well to the north, some of our very first drill holes we're hitting in the target structure, we're hitting 2 metres at 10. So we're opening up this structure along strike, but it's particularly exciting that the model is fitting together perfectly for us. So we'll zoom into the centre of that figure. So the figure on the right there, there's a 100 metre scale bar. We're looking at from surface below the pit, we're looking down about 300 metres. So at about midway down through that figure, you'll see the intersection 17 metres at 9.3, 43 at 3. Now, all these are recent drill holes, and everything is just completely open at depth. And according to our model, the mineralisation should extend to depth and could potentially improve with grade as we transition deeper. The deepest hole on the project there is 300 metres below surface, and that hole intersected 86 metres at 1 gram. And all the work, the studies that we're doing on the core suggests that even that zone there should potentially improve with grade as we transition deeper into the system. The figure on the left there, that's a slice through the IP geophysics. And again, the blue and the purple is mapping out the target zone. So that we've defined well over sort of 1 kilometre of strike there in the geophysics. So the drilling that we've got planned in the coming, commencing in a week's time, but over the coming 12 months, is going to extend this zone, the long section. It's going to extend it down beyond doing step out and expansion drilling to extend this zone down to 500 to 600 metres depth, and then also expand it along strike as we go. We just look at one of the drill sections. We're looking immediately underneath the open pit. One of our early holes was straight in under the open pit to get some modern geology, and 16 metres at 3. But what importantly came out of that drill hole was some of the early indications that suggested we needed to go deeper in the gold system. So you can see that we stepped out with quite a bullish hole. We stepped out 150 metres below the previous drilling and intersected 43 at 3, including 6 at 17. Now, this is a stunning drill result, but it's importantly that everything's just completely open at depth. We now just Move along strike, we're about 60 metres south of the open pit. On surface here, you get a 3 metre wide quartz vein, rock chip it, you get 0.1 gram gold. But what we could see was the need that we needed, the textures suggested we needed to go deeper in this system. So that's exactly what we did, combined with the IP geophysics that guided our drilling to follow this zone deeper. Our first hole hit 6 metres at 0.7, but the textures said go deeper. So we drilled another hole, 26 at 3.6. And again, we drilled deeper, and that's where we intersected 17 at 9.3, including 3 at 25. And that's a stunning result. But importantly, again, everything is just completely open at depth. If we move, we're going to move to the south of the central target. So we're now going to move to the southern target. So we've just looked at 1.5 kilometres of strike here at the central target. If we now move to the southern target, again, we've come into this southern target actually had a fair bit of exploration done in the late 80s, and it was actually some of the widest gold mineralisation that had been identified on the project. But there'd been no drilling on this target in over 30 years. So we've come in here with modern exploration, the modern geophysics, and a first pass drill program to put everything in context for the first time. And now we're at a point now where we can apply all the learning that we've just achieved with the discovery success at the central target. We can apply all that thinking here and work out exactly where we need to transition deeper into the system to intersect the high-grade gold. So this is certainly our second priority target. But being the widest zone of mineralisation on the project, we're going to be really excited to follow this zone deeper and see where the high grade may kick in. So that, as I mentioned, that's the second priority target. Our third priority target is the northern target. Again, we can see all the IP geophysics there rolled over. You can see the resistivity low cutting right through, extending well to the north. The most northern hole from the central target we've drilled intersected 2 metres at just under 10. And 2.5 kilometres further to the north, there's some old historical drilling that intersected 6 metres at just under 5 grams. But that whole area is under shallow sand cover, and we can now use the IP geophysics to map out the main target zone that really hasn't been effectively tested. So this is an area that we'll be working up in the next 12 months as well. And if we now step back and look at the whole regional project pipeline. So we've just focused on the 7 kilometre zone in the central there. But historically, there's a lot of sand cover on this project. So the historical exploration was successful in finding where the mineralisation, the prospects outcropped, but it didn't really identify and understand the whole scale of the system. So we've now got a first mover opportunity to come in here and apply all the new ideas that we've just learned and apply that on a much larger scale here, and also to use geophysics to potentially join the dots up over 30 kilometres on this structure. So the potential for this, the potential scalability of this project is quite exciting. Oh, okay. Just on the board, we've got strong discovery experience right through to mine development experience. So we're skilled to take this project right through. Oops. And yeah, just summing up, please, I invite you to come and stop by the booth, and yeah, thank you for your time.
Some fantastic grades. No wonder you were so high performing last year. Next up, we've got Glen Diemar from Australian Copper and Gold Limited. So Australian Copper and Gold is a leading discovery-focused explorer, creating growth opportunities in the most prolific mining belts of New South Wales. AGC understands discovery and continues to grow an exciting, balanced portfolio of potential Tier 1 copper and gold assets in a world-class, safe mining jurisdiction. Managing Director Glen Diemar is here to tell you more. Thank you, Glen. Thank you. Forward back, please.
Okay, great. Thank you, RIU, Ben, and thanks also to the Jury Duty Committee who let me off jury duty this week so I could be here with all of you fine, unconvicted people, and although no doubt guilty of high-risk investing. AGC IPO'd last year in January, and so we're well funded to drive our exploration business model. We are discovery focused. We've got 3 really strong projects, and we came at this IPO last year with lots of drilling in our or drilling targets in our portfolio. We are at the home of world-class mines and world-class discoveries. Recent discoveries in our copper belt, the incredible Federation discovery, which is one of the highest grade discoveries in Australia of recent, Constellation, Mallee Bull, and you see all the majors in that belt. Significant recent gold hits that we've been having at our Boxdale project, and we're very well funded to take these projects forward. So our highlights, we're in a great location. We're just jump in the car and drive out to our projects. And I can't recommend enough how important that is in an exploration program, when you can be out there that afternoon on your ground. That means you're in a safe jurisdiction and you can have quick access to your projects. But we're in in the farming areas where there are no hobby farms, so it's a great place to explore. We've got a very strong portfolio and lots of drill-ready projects. So in the 14 months after IPO, we have drilled 12,000 metres of RC drilling across 9 different projects, 9 different campaigns. Our drill rig has been on site for 150 days in the last 14 months. So you can see that we are not afraid to put our ideas forward, test our ideas, and drive our projects forward. And we've had a lot of success. Our projects have come a long way in the last 14 months. We've got a great board, really cohesive board, a great culture within the company. And part of that is due to our strategic alliance with listed explorer who's speaking here today, tomorrow, Magmatic Resources. We grew out of 2 companies, one being Magmatic Resources, the other one being a private that I ran in New South Wales for a long time. And we share exploration offices, we share our corporate offices. We have 2 junior companies all in the room together and harvesting ideas and challenging each other. And for a junior company, that's really important, because you're often out there alone, but with so many brilliant minds in the room, we make really good stuff happen. So 3 projects. About New South Wales, we've had an incredible drilling or incredible pegging rush in the last 24 months. If you haven't been in New South Wales for longer than that, then you're probably not on the right belt. We picked up our Moorfield project, or Magmatic Resources pre-IPO of us, picked up our Moorfield project off Goldfields Limited in 2014, and they spent a lot of money on it, and we've spent a lot of money on it. And that's the difference of being listed recently. If you've been here for a long time, you can get and sift through the good projects. So our work program going forward, we've just drilled 5,000 metres since December on our gold focused projects. We've still got 3,440 assays of those to trickle through. They'll be coming out very shortly. Our Gundagai project, which I'll take you through, we're about to drill in winter. Nothing like being up on the top of a hill in Gundagai in the middle of winter. And we're about to start a whole bunch of air core and auger. So Moorfield, geologists think about mineral systems in a big way. The big thinking approach is that you have a heat source, you've got to transfer the metals along a fault zone, not like the faults that my wife thinks I have, but these are fractures in the rock which the metals can travel along, and then they need to be deposited in a trap site. Here at the conference, we often just talk about the trap site. And for all of you investors, it's a good way to think about it when you're going around the booths today. What's the source of the metals? How far is it transported? And what's the trap? It's a very basic model that we all need to think about and apply our mineral exploration to. So we look for big sources of metals and big fault zones. And our Moorfield, our gold project, sits on a very large fault zone that runs from 60 kilometres south at Evolution's wonderful Tier 1 Lake Cow mine, all the way up north, and it splays out into our Moorfield project. This is why Gold Fields picked this project up and spent money here. So we are in a great district, and they're all of some of our recent drilling. We've only had one, our maiden drill campaign results come out. These are all shallow results. We only drilled to 100 metres. We want to test this laterally rather than go to depth. This is laterally extensive and it's appearing to be very attractive. The mag high that underpins this gold system crops out of the ground as a big hill about 10 kilometres to the south. And it's an ultramafic. There's an old prospect, gold platinum palladium prospect on that outcrop 10 kilometres to the south. And then we've had the whole system modelled and it goes underneath our gold trend exactly along strike. It appears to be about 5 kilometres depth, and we believe the metals have come off this system, come up through the fractures in the rock, and have been able to precipitate or deposit in our fault structures above. So that is the mineral systems approach to big thinking in these systems. You've got to have scale. Our gold trend currently is 15 kilometres long, defined by thousands of soil samples, over 100 old mine workings, and now some of our drill holes with some great results in it, like 5 metres at 4 grams from only 24 metres. And we've got 3,440 more assays coming in the next month from this site. So this is a great growth asset for us, very near surface with strong depth potential. We've got a copper focus as well. We like to be dual commodity focused because commodities change and sentiment changes. But because we've been in New South Wales for a long time, pre-IPO, we've got some fantastic ground. We've got one of the largest land holdings in the prolific Cobar Basin, where all the majors are. We've got Rio Tinto on our southern boundary. Metals Acquisition Corp has just purchased the highest grade copper mine in Australia from Glencore. That happened that's happening now, but it was announced last month for a cool $1.1 billion US, mostly all cash. These are very good systems to be looking for and for copper. Sandfire's DeGrussa, we all know what happened to that when they discovered that system. And there's been a lot of recent discoveries in this belt in the last 3-4 years. Federation, Constellation, Peel keeps drilling incredible results, and all the ones from Australia as well. So this is a great district to be exploring in, and we know we have a wonderful land holding on the eastern margin of this basin. We've been drilling here last year, for the first half of last year, at about 6,000 metres. We feel that this is a beautiful pull-apart basin with all the right deep structures and all the right trap sites. We've put 20 holes into this now, and we've really got a strong feel for the geology. Almost every hole has been mineralised, weakly mineralised, and we have only explored by drilling 700 metres of the strike, and our belt goes for 8 kilometres in this district. We've got soil sampling with anomalies all along it for the 3 kilometres, and we're looking to extend that because those soil samples are only on the hills. So our upcoming program for the rest of the year here will be auger with infill air core, and that should really help us propel this project forward. These copper systems are very shallow. They all come to surface. The depth of basement, the depth of the transported covers only maximum about 10 metres. So we don't need to go too deep here, but the potential for a major discovery is very big. And Peel, when they discovered Mallee Bull, they were a 7 million market cap stock, not unlike us. And within a few months, they were at 70 million market cap. So we know what our business model is, and we know that we're great at doing this. So we're very excited to be continuing on this project. Regis Resources purchased the McPhillamys gold deposit, 2.2 million ounce gold deposit from Alkane Newmont joint venture for $150 million almost a decade ago. This is the largest undeveloped, McPhillamys is the largest undeveloped gold mine or open cut mine in Australia, and it's looking to be permitted very soon by the New South Wales government. And we hope they speed that along a bit. So that will be a great open cut mine, and these are great ore bodies to be exploring through New South Wales. The discovery hole there was about 220 metres at 2 grams, and we believe we've got a system that's very similar to this. I've been working on this for a number of years now, doing groundwork, soils, and it just keeps getting better. So McPhillamys is its discovery footprint was about 200-300 metres wide, and about that long as well. This here is 1,500 metres long, open to the north. Its largest soil sample line on the northern tip is 280 metres at above 100 parts per billion gold, with the most eastern soil sample line at 360 parts per billion gold. This could be a very big gold system, and we are going to be drilling this next. There's some old drill holes here from 1989 that Shell drilled, and 54 metres at a quarter of a gram, and 6 metres at a gram. So some really good indications that there's a gold system here. These were all done on 3 metre composites. So when you sample that down to a metre, often you get a bit of an uplift in grade. So we're hoping to put some drill holes here right under the main gold zone, and it's all permitted, all ready to go, and we're just waiting on a drill rig. So a very compelling uplift to our market cap potentially if we get this, and we'll be stepping forward at 100-metre step outs along this gold trend. So we're very excited about this one. We believe that Australian Gold and Copper has got a great piece of ground, great projects, great team, and we'd love you to learn more about us. Come to booth number 93. I've got something very special for you there. Not only myself, who you often get sick of listening to, but I've got my 2 great geologists here who have spent the last 150 days drilling out in the field. So Ross and Jack, so you can talk to the guys that are on the ground all the time doing the great work. We've also got our non-exec director, Ranko, here, and our chairman, David Richardson. So from top to bottom, we'd all love you to come and learn more from us. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Glenn. It looks like if you go and visit, you'll get the whole top to bottom there and get to hear from the people who've been on the ground recently. So next up, we've got Sky Metals and Oliver Davies. Sky Metals is a New South Wales focused exploration company exploring large-scale tin systems, including the Doradilla and Taliban tin projects. Did I get those right? Perfect. The tin market is performing extremely strongly, with limited supply pushing the tin price to $60,000 a tonne. I did stop myself from doing a sky-high price pun on that though, which gives an excellent opportunity for the company to develop these large-scale projects. Mr. Davies has been with Sky Metals since the listing in 2019 and previously held positions with Alkane Resources and Evolution Mining.
Thank you, Ben. As said, I'm Oliver and I'm going to be talking about Sky Metals exploring large-scale tin systems in New South Wales. Just a quick disclaimer there. So Sky Metals is a New South Wales focused exploration company. We've got tenements in a range of commodities, including tin, gold and copper gold, but it's tin and particularly our Doradilla and Taliban projects that we've come back to focus on over the last sort of year to 6 months. And that's been given the strong performance of the tin price and also the potential of these two projects to have large scale tin systems. So Sky's team, we have a very experienced and proven management team. We've got Norm Seckold as chairman, who's got a few decades experience in managing natural resource companies. He's currently chairman of Santana Minerals, Alpha HBA and deputy chairman of Nickel Mines. Richard Hill is also on the board. He's former chairman of Genesis Minerals and current chairman at New World Resources. And he was a founding director at Aurelia as well. And Remus Karidis is also there, who was the founding managing director and CEO at Aurelia, taking that company from a junior exploration company right the way through to a producing mining company. And then myself, who's been with Skye since listing, as said, and previously with Alkane and Evolution, working on their successful New South Wales exploration programs. Currently, Sky's got a market capitalisation around 35-40 million, no debt, and the stock itself is very tightly held. So looking at the tin market, this is a graph of the tin price over the last 20 years, and you can see how strongly it's been performing, particularly in the last year. The tin price has really pushed up towards that $60,000 a tonne Aussie, and we think that's been driven by strong supply from the electronics sector. Tin is primarily used as a solder to hold electronics together, and so it's going to be crucial in the EV revolution, and also driven by a strong supply crunch. There's been underinvestment in tin, with no large tin mines coming online, particularly in the last year. So it's certainly a commodity that is currently in a tricky spot. A couple of graphs to underline that. The LME stockpiles, as you can see there, have been driven down to historic lows. They've been driven down to about 2,000 tonnes of tin, which is less than about 2 days supply. So very tight stockpiles. On the other side, there is a graph put together by MIT in a research funded by Rio Tinto, and that shows that tin is going to be one of the leading, the leading commodity that's going to see increased demand during our electronics revolution and our transition into over the next few years. And that's even outpacing lithium, I think, is the real surprise in that graph, and important to note. This is a graph here put together by Macquarie, and you can see the supply deficits there in yellow, and then you can see the price response in tin. And they're producing, we're going to have a supply deficit ongoing until at least 2025, and that's going to maintain this current high tin price. Currently, where the tin price is, it's 4 times the copper price. And to give you sort of a calibration, when we're looking at intercepts in the presentation, 1% tin corresponds to around 7 grams per tonne gold. So if you're getting 1% tin in your rock, it's really high grade, and 0.5% even is well over 3 grams per tonne. So there's some very valuable dirt. So Sky Metals has the Doradilla project, which is up in northwestern New South Wales, up near Burke. It's a 16-kilometre long skarn that was discovered in the 1970s and 80s when they did regional magnetics work. And being such a large system, and Sky Metals is quite a small company, it's very important that we don't get lost in such a big system, and we really focus on the best part of it. And so Sky Metals has been focusing on the 3-kel part. There's 3 prospects along that skarn, being Doradilla, Midway and 3-kel, and 3-kel's been our focus. 3-kel itself is over 2 kilometres in strike length, so it's a very large part of this skarn, and where some of the better grades are. Here is a long section of 3-kel, and you can see there over a 2.5 kilometre strike that we've drilled there now. And a lot of those historic holes shown in black there have drilled into the oxide zone, which overlies the primary zone at 3-kel, and it's been the focus of much of the historic work. This project ground to a halt in the 1980s with some metallurgical issues, particularly in the oxide zone. But in 2019, Sky Metals drilled the first hole in 35 years to intercept the primary zone. And we found the mineralisation there was hosted in a different mineral called malayite. And so that's really provided the opportunity now for Skye to revisit this project and start to see if we can develop it. As you can see, we've got some really good drill intercepts on that long section, many sort of 30 to 40 metre intercepts at 0.3 to 0.4% tin. So you're looking at 2 to 3 gram per tonne gold equivalent over 30 to 40 metres. So some very valuable dirt there, and over such a large scale as well. We've been able to continue to expand it with our drilling. And there's even a gossan on the northeast end there that's outcropping that doesn't have a drill hole underneath it. We discovered the gossan driving along the track that runs along the top of the cross section there. Driving along the track, we noticed a gossan outcropping on the track. We got out of the car, took some rock chips, and we've got over 0.7% tin outcropping, which is very surprising given this area has seen over 50 years of exploration, that there still is the chance to discover gossans like that haven't been drilled under. So we're really excited to get back there and continue to expand this. We've got an RC rig coming up there this week that's going to test this strike over a 2.8 kilometre strike length and continue hopefully to expand this large deposit. We've got a couple of cross sections here to show you the continuity at depth. Geologically, you can really think of this as simply as just a big panel of tin. There's not too much complex about this deposit. It looks very continuous, and from our perspective, it's very easy to expand because you can just think of it as a large plain and continue to drill. As I mentioned before, the real opportunity for Skye came with looking into malayite, which hosts the tin in the primary zone underlying the oxide zone at 3-kel. And previously it was thought that malayite wasn't amenable to smelting, but we've had discussions with smelting groups that indicate that concentrations of above 30% tin are amenable to smelting. And that tells us 2 things. It tells us, first of all, that malayite can be sold as a concentrate. And second of all, that if it's being smelted as a concentrate, someone's concentrating it. So there's a pathway forward to concentrate this tin and then to sell it on. The previous metallurgical work done at 3-kel also indicates that there's quite a lot of copper, up to 1% copper in the oxide zone overlying the primary zone, and that copper has an over 90% recovery with acid leaching. So it's possible that we could strip the oxide zone, have an acid leaching copper circuit or something as a cost recovery, and then get into the primary tin and mine that stuff. We're looking into Tomara using XRT and optical ore sorting as well. Malayite has the rare property of fluorescing under UV light, which is what you can see in the pictures of the drill core there. And we're seeing if we can use that to concentrate it. And we've also recently just completed a wide diameter metallurgical drill hole as well to get some sample there to send on to see if we can find a pathway to concentrate this project and develop this opportunity for Sky Metals. So the next steps for us are
big RC program to continue to explore this large system. The RC rig is planned to come up there this week and start that, and we'll start drilling underneath that Gossan to the northeastern end there that doesn't have any drill holes under it, which is a very exciting thing for an exploration geologist to be drilling under undrilled Gossans. It's very rare to find them in this day and age. And obviously our metallurgical test work will be continuing as well. Our other large-scale tin project in New South Wales is Taliban, which is out near Condobolin in central New South Wales. You can see an aerial photo there of the historic mining field. Very, very large mining field. On the right-hand side is the old tailings dam, and then there was quite a bit of alluvial mining that has resulted in that large open pit you can see there. Taliban itself was discovered in the 1880s, has been mined for over 100 years, right from the 1880s through to the 1980s. It started off with a few small open pits and underground workings, and then they went in to mine the alluvials over the top. And obviously Skye went in there in 2019 and did some drilling, and we were targeting high-grade lodes at the time. However, we've re-looked at that drilling and all the past drilling there and identified the potential for a bulk tonnage resource at Taliban. Hole 6 is one of our better results, 87 metres at 0.18% tin. In terms of gold equivalents, that's 87 metres at over 1 gram per tonne gold. So there's certainly the value in the dirt there, and we've got big broad intercepts as well. So it looks like a good potential bulk tonnage deposit, and it's open along strike and down dip as well, and also interestingly up dip. A lot of the old drilling has focused on extending this deposit at depth, and Sky Metals is now doing some drilling to actually even extend it up to the surface as well. So the potential for further shallow tons there. This is the old crusher from the mine. As you can see, it's fairly substantial. And given the old mining there, there's quite a lot of infrastructure that's already been in place, which is ready for us to plug into. There's power lines already to site. There's an established past water supply. There's sealed and unsealed roads to and from site. The historic tailings dam I pointed out before is only a third full, and there is quite a bit of tin in that as well still. And obviously the extensive previous drilling is really important for us as well. Not only does it save us millions and millions of dollars, but also gets us to the point where our further drilling can be very well targeted to continue to expand a very large deposit. This is a cross section here of some of our recent drilling. We drilled hole 24 there to extend the mineralisation up dip. Unfortunately, the hole ended in mineralisation, but we got 23 metres at 0.23% tin, which again, in a gold equivalent is about 1.5 grams per tonne gold. So quite valuable dirt and still open up dip. So we plan to come in and do some more drilling to continue to extend it up dip and also extend that downhole interval as well. We drilled 10 holes a couple of months ago. All of them have intercepted the tin system, and the tin itself is hosted in a mineral called cassiterite, which is just tin oxide, and that's your normal mineral to host tin, and we've been smelting that successfully since the Bronze Age, and it's quite easily concentrated by gravity methods. So this project, given the amount of past work that's been completed there, has a strong potential to be developed very quickly. Thank you very much.
All right, so don't go anywhere. We've got one more presentation for the morning, and then we're going to take about a 40-minute break and come back at 1:30 for the afternoon session. Rounding out a very Australian-focused morning of explorers, we've got Dr. Paul Kitto, the Technical Director from Peako Ltd. As the world pivots to hydrogen to achieve a cooler and greener planet, PGEs are mission critical. Peako Ltd is targeting discovery of a major PGE resource at its Eastman project in the East Kimberley to help meet this future demand. We'll learn, if we're not sure what PGEs are, you're about to learn a lot more about it. Peako's Technical Director, Dr. Paul Kitto, is here to tell us more and take us through PGEs, I hope.
Moment. Okay. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for remaining for the last presentation. I appreciate that. The Eastman PGE project is a brand new project. It's something that we haven't done any work on to date, but historically you will see that there's fantastic indicators that we could be onto the tiger's tail. Let me remind you that if you have any questions or would like to come and see us, we have booth number 108 and we're in the corner in the big room. Thanks, Ben, for the brief introduction, and thank you to RIU for allowing us to give this presentation today. Before I start to give the presentation, I need to set the scene for you. The only way we're going to get a cleaner, greener planet is by having PGEs, and I'll go through a couple of slides in this presentation to explain what I mean by that. For those that do speed reading, there's a little disclaimer. Brief investment highlights, just to give you an idea of what we're going to cover in this presentation. The PGE project, the Eastman PGE project, is in the East Kimberleys, near Halls Creek, and it's in the Halls Creek origin. We hold tenement package there of almost 4,000 square kilometres. Within that package is the Eastman ultramafic complex, and that's where the PGEs are. And we'll see that historically, the only work that's been done on these ultramafic packages has been exploring for chromite. And I'll show you an example of what they were looking for. But the chromite horizons are just very thin stratiform banding within the ultramafic package. And what we're finding from the work that our neighbours are doing up the road, and we'll see some of that work in a moment, is that the PGEs are actually disseminated strata bound throughout the complete ultramafic package. And we've got a drill program about to commence that will test the concept. If we look at a corporate snapshot, you can see there that our share price is around about 2 cents. We've got 308 million shares out there. It's very tightly held. You can see the board has over 32% of the company, and the top 20 shareholders remaining make up the other 11%. The leadership team is quite small, and it's headed up by Jeff Albers. And Jeff, if you know Jeff from his past history, was oil and gas. Ray Clark, who's sitting here in the audience today, along with her team of Emma and Mike, and you'll see them at the booth 108, is our executive director, and she runs the day-to-day company business. And Tony Rudd has just joined us. He's our exploration manager. And now that the wet season is finished in the East Kimberleys, that's where he is on the ground. Okay, let's just give you a bit of very brief background about what PGE is. So PGE, obviously we're talking about the platinum group elements, and there's 6 of them. They're very valuable. If we go through the 6 elements that are shown there, we've got platinum, palladium, rhodium, ruthenium, osmium, and iridium. And if we look at the price, US dollar price per ounce, we're looking at almost $1,000 for platinum, $2,300 for palladium, $18,500 for rhodium. Ruthenium's a little bit less, it's only around $650. Osmium's only about $400, and then iridium is around about $5,100 an ounce. So if you can find a significant PGE deposit, then you're onto something that's going to be worth a lot of money. Typically, when you see assays delivered on a presentation, and I'll show you some here today, they're presented as 3 E's or 3 elements, and those elements are typically platinum, palladium, and gold, which is obviously not one of the PGEs or not one of the platinum group elements. Now, why are we exploring for platinum group elements? It's because of their catalytic properties. Without PGEs, you wouldn't have a catalytic converter in a car. and you would not be able to produce green hydrogen energy that Twiggy Forrest is talking about. Now, why is that important? If you look at the graph on the bottom right-hand side of the screen, to be able to produce green hydrogen and have a clean green planet, we need PGEs. And without them, we're in a lot of trouble. So we need to make a significant discoveries, because on that graph, you can see the supply and demand, they don't match. From 2028 onwards, the supply does not meet the demand that's required to produce green hydrogen and therefore a cleaner, greener planet. So that's why we're there. So now let's have a look at where we are. So we're in the East Kimberleys, as I mentioned, on the Halls Creek origin. The Halls Creek origin has a number of deposits in it. It's very strongly mineralized throughout. And in the north, we have a number of intrusions which are sulfide rich, and they are carrying copper and gold and nickel. And in the south, we have chromite rich ultramafic intrusions which are carrying PGEs. And it's in the southern area that we're looking to do our work on the Eastman project. We'll look at these southern examples. So we'll have a look at the Pantoro and the Lambu intrusions in a little bit more detail to give you a glimpse of what we're expecting to find on the Eastman intrusion. So here we are. The image you're seeing there is a geological interpretation of the airborne geophysics. It's a 16.5 kilometre long ultramafic complex. The purple bands through there, and you see multiple repeated purple bands, and they're the ultramafics which host the PGEs. They're both structurally repeated and folded as well to repeat them. So it's reasonably complex. On the right-hand side, we have a strike length there of almost 9.5 kilometres, of which 2.5 kilometres is undercover. And on the eastern side, we've got just over 7 kilometres, which is all undercover. But you can see from the geophysics, we can identify those ultramafic units, and those ultramafic units is what's hosting the PGEs. I'll just go straight through that slide. What I would like to do is quickly give you an overview comparing our Eastman PGE with the two immediate neighbours. And you can see there that they have 1, similar geology, 2, a similar size, and 3, they're all chromite rich. So you can see those pale blue bands in the purple ultramafic horizons. Those pale blue bands are the chromite horizons. So all 3 of these ultramafic intrusions are very, very similar in all respects. And we'll have a look in detail in the next slide of what they actually look like for our neighbours to the north. So here you can see the Panton intrusion, which is held by Future Metals on the left. And on the right-hand side, you can see the Lambu intrusion held by Pantoro. And you can see some of the numbers that they're getting. In fact, Pantoro, one point to make first of all, is that both companies have only been operating on these 2 ultramafic intrusions for a maximum of 2 years. So everything they've done here is new. These intrusions were originally explored for chromite, those thin bands of chromite in the ultramafic. So they've made significant advances in a very, very short time. And that's obviously what we are hoping to do on the Eastman intrusion to the south. So you can see some of the intersections there. They're big, wide, economic intersections. 20, 30, 40, up to 100 metres wide. And you can see that that ultramafic band is highlighted on those 2. So we're looking at extremely large strike lengths. And as I mentioned to you, down at Eastman, we've got a strike length of over 16 kilometres. So let's have a look at what we're going to do. So we're in the field currently. The wet season is now finished. Our guys are on the ground, And we've got 4 phases in our exploration program. The first part, and I haven't mentioned this before, but the ground was originally picked up because of its multi-commodity potential. So in this tenement package, this 4,000 square kilometre tenement package, we've got gold, we've got copper, we've got base metals, lead, zinc, silver, we've got chromite, and we've obviously got PGEs. So the first part of the program is to undertake a much larger tectonostratigraphic architectural study. And Dr. Dave Selly is actually on the ground there now, and he'll be doing that work for us. The second part of the program is the 5,000 metre drill program, which I mentioned earlier on, and I'll explain in the next slide what we're actually targeting. At Landrigan, which is labelled number 3 there, we already have a very small copper, gold and silver prospect, which is open to the east. We've got 3 drill holes planned there to look at that extension to mineralisation. And then finally down in the southeast corner, number 4, we've got the Eastman South prospect, and I'll allude to a little bit more of that in a moment. The image I should have told you there was geophysics, and we'll see that image come up again in a minute. That is a composite image, so we've taken regional surveys and stuck them all together, and that's why it's a little bit patchwork. So I apologise for that. Okay, so let's have a look at our drill program over the Eastman intrusion. I mentioned to you it's 16.5 kilometres long. It's separated in the middle by a granite. And so what you're looking at there in that bottom right-hand corner is an image of the 16.5 kilometres that's separated by a granitic intrusion. On the eastern side, well, rather than explain to you about east and west, etc., I'll explain. We've broken the program up into 3 phases or 3 aims for this 5,000 metre drill program. The first is to do a series of lines of drilling every kilometre across the ultramafic intrusion to see what we actually have. We don't know. The work has not been done. So that'll give us, first of all, a glimpse of what the potential is along that 16.5 kilometres. The second part of the program is to look at some of these structural repeats. So it's faulted and folded, we know that, and we want to see how the PGE assays vary across those different ultramafic repeats. And the third part of the drill program is to test some soil anomalies. We've got the previous workers looking for chromite actually did soils. So we do actually have some soil data, and we're going to test the best of those soil anomalies for PGEs. And previous workers have also done VTEM. And we know that the VTEM lights up around the chromites, and we know we also get reasonable PGEs, so we're going to test some of those VTEM anomalies also. Thank you very much, Ben. And I've just about finished. I mentioned the Eastman South prospect, which was to the southeast of our region. So here we've got an interp on the left-hand side, the geology interp. You can see in that it's 100 square kilometres, multiple repeats of the ultramafic. There's not been any work done here at all. 0. The closest piece of information we have is just to the north of those intrusions, and it was a 5.5 gram PGE rock chip. That's all we know about this whole region. All right, so just let me wind up. We know that PGEs are going to be critical for a cleaner, greener planet going forward. We know that supply will not meet demand from about 2028 unless there are significant, and I mean significant, PGE discoveries. And we are hoping, obviously, that our Eastman's PGE project will be one of those major discoveries. So thank you for your time, and I invite you to come and see us at booth 108. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you everyone for sticking through for the morning session. We're going to take about a 40-minute break and reconvene at 1:30, so go grab some lunch. And then we've got Thor mining starting at 1:30. For those online, we'll see you in about 40 minutes. Thank you very much.